Hello guys and welcome to another video, and these are all the generations of the Dominar 400 and the first generation model, the updated 2018 second generation model and the latest UG BS6 version. And in this video I'll be comparing all of these motorcycles, and let's see how far Bajaj has come from this to that. So before we get started, just like this video, subscribe to the channel, and link is in the description for the Instagram handle. So let's get started. So this is the first generation model 2017 first batch, and it looks quite good. I just loved the gloss white paint scheme on the Dominar 400 when it first came out. This is the ABS version, and it costed around 1.69 1.7 lakhs back then, and it was all worth it. And this one has done about 35,000 kilometers. Quite good in terms of condition. Obviously the main con of the first generation Bajaj Dominar was the suspension setup and the build quality. This has got a lot of rattles and it has got vibrations, so that's something they have solved with the new Gen BS6 version. But this one had the vibrations. Those vibrations were a bit damped in the 2018 model, and they are almost negligible now in the 2021 BS6 version. So talking about the looks, they're almost similar, as you can see from the front. Both of these old generation models have got the conventional fork setup, 43mm front forks, and the BS6 version have got USD forks, as you can see. And the disc is mounted this side, and on this one, the latest one, is it is mounted on this side. And as you can see, both of these Dominars are heavily loaded. And actually this was the particular Dominar using which Zana designed the crash guard for the motorcycle. As you can see, it has got the crash guards from Zana, and Zana actually took this motorcycle from the owner, this particular motorcycle, and designed these guards, saddle stays and top rack. So this is that motorcycle, and very soon the crash guard will be installed on my Dominar 2, so stay tuned. So in terms of overall looks, all three of these motorcycles are actually similar, and the only difference the generations had was the paint scheme. So this had the more glossier appeal. The first generation models had the glossy paint scheme. The next generation had the matte finish, and I just loved the golden rims on the second generation model. I just loved the golden rims. And now unfortunately the BS6 version doesn't have the golden rim setup, but maybe we'll work that out. So that's the only difference in terms of looks, and other than that the motorcycles are almost identical. And there's just a bit difference if you see really closely between the first and the latest generation model, but that's not a big difference. The main appearance change was the double barrel exhaust on the latest generation model and the single barrel on the last generation models. Now if I talk about the major change which the BS6 version has got over the first generation and the second generation model is the engine architecture. So this has got a DOSC setup, the double overhead cam setup, and this one has got a single overhead cam setup, and even this one has got that. So both of these motorcycles produces about 35 horsepower and 35 newton meters of torque, while that produces about 40 horsepower and 35 newton meters of torque. So there's a 5 horsepower increment in the BS6 version. So that's a bit significant, because I also rode the older version and then rode the BS6 version. So the main difference was the refinement and the power delivery. So now let's get riding and see how much of a difference there is in terms of the riding feel between the first, second and third generation model. So let's get riding. So riding the first generation Dominar, and so let's see how it performs. The first thing that's evident is the vibrations, and my Dominar feels a lot refined, and this is really a bit on the unrefined side, and that was really the main con of the Dominar 400 first generation model, as I said. And well, in terms of handling, this was a bit better because the suspension was on the stiffer side. Yes, Bajaj gave stiffer suspension on a touring motorcycle. If I talk about the engine performance, it feels, if you don't push this motorcycle to its limit, it feels almost similar to my Dominar. So that's the thing. And yes, in terms of braking, the braking was also not that good, but this one has got an updated disc pad which is from Vesra, and the brakes are quite good. As you can see, if you change the brake pads of your motorcycle and buy a premium one like Vesra, your braking performance will be really enhanced. So let's try that again. Yes, a lot better, even better than my Dominar. So if you're not satisfied with the braking performance of your motorcycle, get your disc pads updated or upgraded. And if you want Vesras, you can contact Cragmust Motors, and they have got a lot of stock of the Vesra disc pads for all of these performance motorcycles. As I said, this motorcycle has taken a lot of abuse because the owner takes it for off-road trailing, and it has done about 30,000 kilometers, and all of that is done while touring. Well, obviously the Dominar is a very comfortable motorcycle. From the beginning it has been that. So this was the dual disc setup with dual channel ABS, and the first generation Dominar had optional dual channel ABS, and also that the red line on this motorcycle comes at around 8,500 or 9,000 RPM, while on my Dominar it comes at around 10,500 RPM. That's a free running motorcycle. So let's just shift from this to the 2018 updated model and see what's all the difference between both of these motorcycles, the transition from first to second generation. Let's try the updated second generation model of the Dominar 400, and this one is fully loaded actually. It has got handlebar risers, it has got a raised windshield visor, it has got these mirrors and hand guards and auxiliary lamps, and the list is actually quite long. So let's just ride this one and see what this one has to offer. And well, this one feels a bit more refined than the first generation model, and by more I mean not all that much. So let's see how it performs. So yes, not a lot of difference. This one is just a bit better in terms of refinement, and that's really just a bit. The mid-range is good, and even though it is fully loaded, it has got all the bells and whistles in terms of accessory. This one still feels as light as the stock version. This one has done 55,000-ish kilometers, so it has done more than the first generation model, and feels quite good. Not as good in terms of the braking department. Yes, the difference in terms of braking can immediately be felt, and if you really want your brakes to be the best, upgrade the disc pads immediately. It has got a bit of a bulk because it has got all those accessories on. It feels quite good. I mean, Dominar fully loaded looks absolutely epic, man. Killer looks. And then there is mine, which hasn't got anything on its bare bones stock. So yes, the performance is more than enough. 35 horsepower, 35 newton meters of torque. The braking is not all that good, but I gave you the solution for your braking problems. The Dominar has always been one of the best in terms of, you know, value for money. It gave you the performance on the expense of refinement, but with the BS6 version they've solved, you know, most of the problems. It has got a better, you know, instrument console. It shows a gear position indicator, trip meters and whatnot, distance to empty. It has got everything. It's fully loaded now and functional. It has got USDs. The vibrations are negligible in terms of a single cylinder motorcycle. So yes, Bajaj has come a long way, but obviously they have taken a lot of time. But yeah, that's really the difference between the first to the last or the current generation model of the Dominar 400. A brilliant motorcycle, a brilliant concept, a power cruiser. So this was the comparison video between the first to the current generation model of the Dominar 400, and you now know that the upgrade is significant. And if you want to buy the Dominar 400 in 2021, just go ahead and buy it. It was worthy back then. It is still a lot worthy now. So yes, like, share and subscribe. Link is in the description for the Instagram handle. And as always, ride safe and keep riding hard.